almost
for
like
doing
grooming these women.
Yes.
Through dating them,
Exploiting.
pursuing them. Yeah, totally. These vulnerable women. Oh, I'll babysit for you. I'm a great guy.
Which is sick on a whole nother level.
Yeah, exactly. That just manipulation, betrayal.
Yeah, and so here I found some, just right quick. There's no way we could spend 2 or 3 episodes talking about this report. It's insane. So long and detailed. Well, here's some traits of a pedophile. This is what people can keep their eyes out for. Possibly sexually abused as a child themselves. Now, this is obviously not to say someone sexually abused are going to be a pedophile, but typically people who are pedophiles were abused as a child. Limited contact with other teenagers when they are a teen themselves, because the attraction to children can be felt at a very young age. So when they're teenagers, instead of doing normal teenager things, thinking about the girl next door or whatever, they're already thinking about children, attracted to children, so they kind of withdraw from their peers, if you will. Premature separation from the military. And though that there's no exact reason, this is usually just the way it was described is they just don't fit in with the other guys and girls, if you will, the other people in the military. So there's that. Frequent and unexpected moves. You said that guy was a drifter. He kind of bounced around because unfortunately, a lot of times molestation goes unreported, and people just tell someone, hey, get the hell out of here, I'm going to kill you, something to that effect. And so the people will move. Repeated or high-risk attempts to get control of children. So these crazy plans, these ludicrous ideas about how they're going to actually just, all they want to do is get their hands on a kid. Lives alone or with parents, which that's always kind of creepy for various reasons. Excessive interest with children. Now, you ever seen an adult? I've run across this one time in my life. There was one time I was at a birthday party with kids, and there was this dude. He was a young guy, 20, 22, out there playing with the kids. And it's okay to go out there, carry on with some kids. But if one of them kids ain't yours especially, and you're out there just rolling around and wrestling and doing all this stuff, and you're of sound mind and you're not developmentally
childlike yourself,
or have any kind of mental issues of that nature, which is fine, that's fine. But if you seemingly normal and just a normal adult or
cognitively,
yes, but you're still wanting to frolic with the kids and run around and all this stuff, that's a fucking red flag in my head. And I told that day, I was like, something's up with this dude. Some friend from a neighbor down the road. I was like, he needs to get the hell on somewhere before I hit him in his damn head. You know what I'm saying? All the red flags going off with that. That's just weird. So you got the excessive interest in children, being around children, all that. And lastly here, may even marry a dominant woman or a meek woman, but will likely have sexual issues as far as performance issues and won't have a normal sexual relationship with that woman. But they may be in a relationship where that's okay with the one, like if she doesn't expect a whole lot from sex life.
Well, like maybe she's kind of asexual herself.
Yeah, maybe.
Like they just have like a weird...
Right.
Or, well, we say weird. It might be normal for them.
Yeah, we shouldn't say weird, I guess, but they just have this relationship where it's okay with her that she doesn't have a normal relationship with. So, yeah, there's some traits of a pedophile I pulled out of that report.
Well, I read an interesting article. It's called Facing Disturbing Truths About Pedophilia That Could Help Us Keep Our Kids Safer. And it originally appeared on Substance, which is a website. But it's pretty interesting. This guy who was writing the article is a sex addict. And so he had to go to rehab for sex addiction. And he talks about his experience as a sex addict going to this rehab program, and that he was in this program with, sexual predators, pedophiles, that most of them just absolutely do not want to admit that they're pedophiles, even when they're in treatment. They don't want to talk to psychiatrists about it. They will go to great lengths to try to act like they, this is not who they are. The testing is wrong. The staff is wrong. They really, really don't want to do this. I mean, he was just like saying how it was pretty amazing just the lengths these people would go to deny their interest. There has been some studies that, of course, pedophilia is something that people are born with, much like sex addiction, that the traditional treatment is called relapse prevention, which is kind of based on helping people identify this is, you've got this urge, this is what you have, and trying to develop coping skills for when they are in like high risk situations.
Yeah, well, it sounds like if they typically, from this guy's limited experience, don't want to admit they have a problem, it seems like that would be hard to follow that type of therapy.
Well, it's true. And there's a Dr. James Cantor, who's a professor at the University of Toronto Medical School. And he's like a leading expert on pedophilia. And he says that one cannot choose to be a pedophile, but one can choose not to be a child molester. And he also said that pedophiles are most likely to abuse when they are most desperate and feel they have nothing to lose.
Well, that makes sense.
And another thing that I didn't understand is that there's like, I guess, mandatory reporting laws that anybody who even goes for therapy or counseling who is suspected of or at risk of being a child molester. So it seems like if you have those tendencies and you go to therapy and you're talking about like, this is a problem I have, by law, like their mental health professionals are supposed to report it.
Well, I mean, so
this guy, like this article, he's basically saying like we're not approaching this in the right way, like how we're dealing with these things.
Well, I mean, I could see,
but it's just such a tricky situation.
I could see both sides of that being argued very easily. On the one hand, you got well, they need to report it to law enforcement because there's a child possibly being harmed right now, and they can stop it. But on the other hand, that could stop people from coming and seeking help in the first place if they're having urges before, maybe they're getting help before they act on it, because there is way more people out there than we realize that do have this strong attraction to children who simply don't act on it because of their own moral code or, societal pressures. Obviously, hey, you can't do that. Yeah, so I could see that, being argued, well, if they instantly report it, then, that's going to keep people from seeking help. So that's really tricky. That's really tricky.
I mean, this writer says that in his opinion, which of course this is just an opinion piece, I'm not saying I agree with this at all, but that these mandatory reporting laws and just the way, I guess, that it's handled with the types of therapy that they're trying to do, this relapse therapy and stuff, that it almost like creates conditions for people to feel desperate, more likely to act out on their urges.
Well, okay. What can you do? So there's actually you have a preferential pedophile who they like children, period. Always have, always will. And then I didn't realize this, you have what they call a situational pedophile. And these are people who typically have had failures with peer or same age relationships. Like failure, let's be honest, pedophiles tend to be men. So I'm just going to say a man. Man, he's keeps failing with women or can't ever get anywhere, or has been in a long relationship and then it just goes all to hell, and finds himself in the company of a child and for whatever reason acts on this impulse.
Or is like one of those guys on To Catch a Predator where he finds himself online with like a 13-year-old girl and it's like easy to impress her.
Yeah.
But he can't impress a 40-year-old woman, but he can impress like a 13-year-old.
Yeah, and that doesn't make it okay.
No. I'm just kind of feeling like, okay, I feel like I've seen that play out a little bit.
And then you have the preferential pedophile, which is all, just strictly, sexually aroused by children, period. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know why, but I don't think you should be either kind. Don't do anything to kids or young adult. I mean, sometimes people think in their head it's just, kids, little kids, 10 and under. But hey, if you're 25 years old and you're trying to date or mess with a damn 13 or 14-year-old kid, something's fucking wrong with you too, okay? That's not cool.
Yeah, and, there has been some studies that some child molesters do it because they have, like, other serious mental issues, personality disorders. But what this article is stating that I also thought was kind of interesting is because it's so true that if we mention something empathetic about mental disorders and people with, that are pedophiles that have these mental sort of disorders, that people think you're like excusing the child abuse.
Right.
Which you're not, but
you're just pointing out that it exists as well.
But with this type of sexual deviance, that there's so much social animosity,
right,
that people are ready to be like, got the pitchfork and the torch, and we're going to this person's house, and we're gonna Freddy Krueger them, we're gonna burn them up, we're gonna hang them from a tree.
Well, and I understand that feeling.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that we all do. So it's just a really tricky situation, just to even talk about. But this guy, Knopfsinger, he seems to be on a different level.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a preferential molester or pedophile. And as far as having killed, you wanted me to look up and see how often do... I think there's a whole nother level, a child predator or a child murderer who's also a pedophile. It's when they get the kid, do whatever sick, twisted thing they do, and the child's dead within 8 to 9 hours.
I was just kind of interested with this story,
kidnapped.
How frequently you get the pedophile who murders. It's not like that's kind of goes hand in hand or anything.
I think it's... And I didn't find the information you asked me to look up, but I think it's a lot less frequent that they actually murder. They just, they're counting on their victim to be quiet. If they're a child, they tell them something crazy like they'll take your whole family to jail, or I'll kill them. Whatever you do to shame the child or scare them into silence. Or this sick bastard was getting at damn toddlers and little babies who can't...
Yeah, who can't even...
They don't even know what the fuck's going on.
Exactly.
God, it's so sick.
He is sick, and again, I'm maybe part of the problem and not the solution, but I'm just hoping there's some prison justice in there somewhere.
Well, yeah, there wasn't long ago. I heard that story.
Oh, in California, where the guy killed the two pedophiles?
Yeah, he beat them to death, right, or something?
Yeah, big part of me feels like, well, he probably should get some years shaved off his sentence.
Well, and I want to say, I'm pretty certain that it came out later that the daughter of one of the men who was killed was on that guy's side. The guy who killed her father, because she knew her father was just a
monster.
A monster who was never going to stop. So, hey, maybe he should, like you said, get a few years off his sentence. That should be an incentive to kill child molesters.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be advocating that, but...
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe.
I'm actually surprised there aren't more Dexter, types of murderers out there.
Yeah, I know. Because we've talked over and over how you can go, get caught up in some drug scheme or something and catch, a lot of time on the first damn time you go to court or jail over it. But these child predators it seems like they can hurt children over and over again. And all that child pornography that guy had, that should have been a life sentence right there. But, he's going to get 60 years and, all that can be pled down and get out. I just don't understand why harming children or exploiting children doesn't come with a bigger penalty.
Dude, there's a guy here in our hometown that was married to a girl I went to high school with. Married, has kids. They're married for some years. And then he was caught with a memory card.
Yeah.
Apparently it dropped out of his pocket at Walmart.
Who the fuck walks around with a memory card?
Yeah. And someone turned it in or whatever. And he had all this child pornography. And so then when they searched his house, they found a cell phone that was a separate cell phone that he used to access this shit.
Oh my God.
And he's busted and arrested and given some prison time. Served just a few years.
See, what the hell?
For having all this child pornography.
But if it wasn't for his sick ass wanting to look at it, people wouldn't be out there making it. And who's actually getting these kids and doing this shit to them?
It's fucked up. Well, I was thinking about the serial killer Rodney Alcala.
Oh my God.
He was definitely someone who molested kids and murdered them.
Yeah.
And that was kind of his thing. And then there